Over the last 3 days, we've heard over and over again, as we should, about the incredible qualifications that Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson has to serve on the Supreme Court. And I know I've touted them each and every day of this hearing myself. Hopefully you've seen me do it if you've been watching the hearings. And I'm going to do it again here in a minute. But before I do, I want to explain why I'm doing it, why I keep doing it. It's because I do believe every American should know Ketanji Brown Jackson, the judge, Ketanji Brown Jackson, the person, and the fact that she represents the very best of our country. That she's not just qualified, but extraordinarily qualified to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. And because of her qualifications and with her experiences, professional and life experiences that she brings, she will make the Supreme Court better. And she will make our country better. So it is my sincere desire that for anybody watching these proceedings from the audience here in this room or from home or online, if you take nothing else away from these last 4 days, it's Judge Jackson's qualifications. A public school education, followed by degrees from Harvard College and Harvard Law School. Clerkships at the Federal District Court, at the Federal Court of Appeals, and the United States Supreme Court. 2 years as a federal public defender. 2 years as a staff member of the United States Sentencing Commission, and 4 years as its vice chair. 3 separate confirmations by the United States Senate, each time on a bipartisan basis, including 2 lifetime judicial appointments. Nearly a decade of judicial experience, which is more than the combined total of 4 of the currently sitting justices at the time that they were nominated. And of course, the life experience as a Black woman, as a working mom, and so much more. But it's not just her resume and background that makes Judge Jackson so qualified to serve on the Supreme Court. We've all seen over the last 3 days, how she answered every question and met every unfounded, unfair, and insulting accusation with a level of grace, dignity, and patience that very, very few of us would be able to demonstrate under similar circumstances. And she demonstrated that she's sharp and thoughtful in her responses to legal questions. And she clearly has an understanding of and a commitment to the rule of law and the principle of equal justice. Now, based on her background, her experiences, and her qualifications, in my view, Judge Jackson merits strong bipartisan support from this committee and from the Senate as a whole. My question is this, and I address it to Congresswoman Beatty and to Mr. Henderson. For those who are concerned about the politicization of the Supreme Court towards one end of the spectrum or the other, what would it say to the country if even someone with Judge Jackson's background, experiences, and qualifications cannot earn bipartisan support from the Senate?
Thank you so much, Senator. I think it would be a sad day in America. As my friend and colleague Wayne Henderson said earlier, when we look at this confirmation and we look at voting rights and when we look at all the things that you are debating today, it is the fundamental grounding of our society and our communities. So I think today, how can you say on both sides of the aisle, as Senator Tillis looked at me and said, he and his colleagues agree that she is exceptionally qualified. Then we have heard about the cases that have been brought before us that have been in question by some of my colleagues on the other side. 10 cases, but it was 5, but they were still within the rule of the law that she was given to deal with. So if you look at all the charts that we've seen, with all the boxes to be checked, more than any other justice that some of the same people here have voted for and confirmed when questions about cases in the same vein have appeared, she still is above all of them. So the answer to that question is, how can we not? And as a Black woman who've lived through civil rights and everything else, let's send the right message. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson.
Senator Padilla, your question is so powerful, particularly after you restated, as you did so eloquently, all of the factors that have brought Judge Jackson to this moment. Her background is absolutely extraordinary, and her demonstration and mastery of the law is second to none. If someone, an American citizen, who has overcome the challenges in one's life that she has overcome, demonstrated her ability beyond any reasonable doubt, and is unable to get the bipartisan support of members of this committee, indeed, it is a sad day for this country. The signal that it sends to the American people is that at the end of the day, preparation may not be the standard by which you are measured, and instead something else, intangible perhaps, in this process comes through. That's not what we want for America. That's not what we in the civil rights movement have struggled for our professional lives to help bring to this country. It would be a sad day. My hope is that the partisan considerations that may have affected some in the questioning of Judge Jackson will be set aside, and that members of this committee, out of their love for the country and its people and the future of the court, will do what's right and will make Judge Jackson a unanimously confirmed appointment. Now, I'm dreaming. That's not going to happen. But certainly, I think sending a signal to the country that indeed we recognize the qualifications that she brings to the table and we lift them up in the name of the American people is something that I hope we can all do. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. And